Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about feelings of inadequacy. In one of my birth mom groups, one of the moms is entering the search phase of reunion and she brought up these feelings of inadequacy. The next day, in a different birth mom group, I saw another post from another mom talking about feelings of inadequacy. And it got me to thinking about my own feelings of inadequacy and the recent events that happened with my daughter regarding it and what I've learned from it. So today, I'm going to cover those topics. But before I do so, let me introduce myself. My name is Kat Davald. I'm a 47-year-old birth mom in reunion with my 32-year-old daughter for almost 4 years now. So right off the bat, I want to clarify what I mean by inadequacy. Because that can mean a whole bunch of different things, but when it pertains to birth moms and reunion and everything, there are specific things that I felt and that I also saw discussed in the groups. The inadequacies that I felt, other birth moms I saw felt, were not wealthy enough. The adoptive parents are much more wealthier than us. And that's probably the most common one out of all the inadequacies that I've seen. Another one is less educated. Now, this one didn't pertain to me too much because I'm from the thought that you don't need a college education to be smart. You can go to any technical school or, do studying on your own to be smart. So that wasn't too much for me, but I have seen it mentioned. There is also less socially apt. Maybe not fitting in with the same class level as how your daughter was brought up, or your child. I have a daughter, so. Maybe there's feelings of, inadequacy and, you're a lower class than your child. Again, that didn't pertain too much to me. I have seen it mentioned, but that wasn't a big thing for me because I don't care. I don't go by that rule book of classes and stuff like that. Not thin enough. This was a big thing for me. I'm heavy right now. I've never been this heavy before. I was always pretty thin, but I quit smoking a year before reunion and packed on a whole bunch of pounds. So I was feeling very uncomfortable when I went into reunion, and I didn't want her to see me like that, but I felt that it was better than being a smoker. And that's another one. Being addicted to whatever. For me, it was cigarettes. And I didn't want her to see me like that. I was ashamed of it. So I quit. And then a year later, like a year and a day later, we matched on DNA. But that was another one of feeling inadequate. Not pretty enough. Again, I haven't seen this mentioned, and it didn't pertain to me. So, but I added it in because it's possible that somebody can feel that way, that they're not pretty enough. So, that can be an inadequacy as well. Not entertaining enough, boring. That was actually mentioned, that she felt she was too boring. So these are the types of inadequacies that I'm talking about. There may be a few more that I'm not listing here, but it's for the most part, these are what I've seen, these are what I've heard, and these are what I've felt as well. So now moving on, my feelings were, basically not having enough money and being overweight. And the money thing weighed a lot more heavily. So I've been a homeowner for 22 years. But the thing is that I've always struggled being a homeowner. It's been a burden. And I didn't realize it at the time. I bought my house when I was 25 because that's what you do. This is society, So I was following the rule book, just like I had, followed my parents' rule book for, giving my daughter up for adoption. And this was kind of part of, that rule book as well. But it was also society's rule book that, you purchase things and you settle down and you create a life and everything. And I bought the house with an ex-boyfriend. We were together. We didn't buy it together. It's all mine. But I thought I was going to marry him, and then this was just going to be a starter home and then move on. But the thing is this house is in a bad city. It's in the worst city in Connecticut. I live in Bridgeport, and it is very high crime here, and it's not getting better. Even after 22 years, it actually seems to be getting worse. So I was very embarrassed by that. I was embarrassed to, tell her that I live in Bridgeport. And I literally said to her, and I wrote it down, so I'm going to quote it. I literally said to her, in the first email that I sent to her, I said to her, please don't stereotype me. LOL, I bought my house when I was 25 as a starter home, but ended up staying. I was just so embarrassed by it. And thinking back, like, I didn't... When these two women came up on these posts in my Birthmom groups, it made me realize that, oh my God, I have insecurities too. Like, I don't realize things all the time. Things have to happen for me to realize these things. And that was one of mine. I mean, I knew I was embarrassed, and I knew that I didn't want her to, stereotype me in any way and think that I was some kind of bum or addict or, just a low life because I live in Bridgeport, because that's the stigma that I get. I grew up in a very wealthy town, so people stereotype me because of that as well. So, and maybe that's the reason why I felt this way, because I get that stereotype from where I grew up. I don't know, regardless. But I said that to her like I had to explain myself. Like I had to give her a reason. Like I had to tell her. And this is word for word what she responded to me. She wrote, and don't worry, I wasn't stereotyping you for living in Bridgeport, LOL. Buying a house at 25 is an amazing accomplishment. And it is. I mean, now I look back and I'm like, wow, that was pretty good, But still, I mean, she thought well of that, regardless of where the house is, I still bought a house at 25. So, I mean, that kind of calmed my fears and everything, but just having that fear, and a lot of my thoughts before reunion were, I don't want her to see me like this. And one of the big ones was, I don't want her to see me as a smoker. I don't want her to see me like this. But I also, not only just a smoker, but financially, I've never been well off. I've like I said, my house has been a burden, and it's been a struggle because I've been single this whole entire time. I've had boyfriends, and some of them lived with me, but none of them really helped me with any of the bills or the chores or anything. That is another part of my trauma, but that is something that happened, and I did this all by myself. So I've never been able to get ahead besides this house. And I was embarrassed by it. I was embarrassed that, I don't really have anything aside from this house, and I don't even own the house because I have a mortgage on it. So I felt very inadequate going into reunion. I also never felt really accomplished professionally. Now, I was a bartender for 25 years. I left that last year because it's a ton of reasons, but I've had enough, basically. But I never felt accomplished professionally. I was a bartender and a bar manager, and I was good at it. I have mastered bartending, and customer service. The whole aspect of not just serving alcohol and serving food and clearing plates and everything. There's a lot more to being a bartender. You have to be vigilant, and you have to listen and look. You have to engage with people, and then you have to calm people down when they get irate. I've mastered all that. I'm good at that. So, but I never looked at it as being, something professionally, something to be professionally proud of. The other thing is I've always had little side businesses. Nothing has ever taken off to where I want it to be. I sold on Amazon for years. I've been selling on eBay since 2011. I took a break for a while, but I'm back to it, and that's another thing that I've mastered. Like, I can list on eBay. It's not my passion, but that is another little chunk of change that I make. I create notebooks. I create greeting cards. I create t-shirts. I do a whole bunch of different things. But I never felt accomplished professionally, and I was also embarrassed by that because there was nothing for me to show. Like, I don't have a degree. Well, I have an associate's, but I'm not a doctor or a lawyer or a CEO or director, like nothing. So I always kind of felt inadequate professionally as well. So those three things: unaccomplished professionally, poor, and a smoker. Those three things really made me feel inadequate going into reunion. And it was always something that I hesitate to actually go and find her because of it. I didn't want her to see me like that. And I would say that to myself all the time. I don't want her to see me like this. I don't want her to know me. So prior to reunion, I did not seek her out. I did not seek a reunion with her because of these inadequacies. Doing my DNA wasn't an act of seeking her out. Like, it wasn't even in my mind. There were a couple of reasons I did it. One major one is I came back from Hungary in 2018 and thought it would be cool to, do my DNA, even though I know how much Hungarian is in me, and I know my family tree back to the 1700s in Hungary. It was like a gut feeling to do, but I also wanted to kind of see if there was any, this is going to sound weird, but I wanted to see if there's any Mongolian in my blood, because I'm Hungarian and Genghis Khan infiltrated Hungary way back. But then, long story short, I ended up finding out that's a completely different DNA test, and I wouldn't have found out from Ancestry DNA. And then there was another reason is my mom had, she had told me this story about some cousins she lost touch with, and I was like, wouldn't that be cool to find them and everything? But instead I found my daughter, which is even better. But, so I didn't go into doing my DNA seeking her out. So the inadequacies were a moot point at that time. I to put it shortly, I was embarrassed of who I was or who I wasn't, and I wanted her to be someone that she could be proud of. Like, oh, this is my birth mom, she's this great, yada, yada, yada. So she didn't get that. After all those feelings and everything, we ended up having lunch last month in May, and this actually came up. this whole insecurities things. And I didn't even think of it as me being insecure, but it was something that I wanted to discuss with her because it was her birthday and I couldn't afford to do for her what I have been doing for her in the prior 3 years that we've been in reunion. Because on her birthday, I've been going all out, you know, and dropping some change. And, you know, you just kind of feel like when you go into reunion, you feel like you need to make up for things. So, I wasn't able to spend as much this year. I said to her, I told her how I felt. And she laughed at me. And I mean, like, she really laughed too. And I think that the reason why she laughed, now I haven't asked her, but I'm assuming here, but this is something that I am going to ask her. But I think she laughed because I was being foolish. Like, I don't think she really cares what I have or what I don't have. I think it's the fact that we've been able to meet and build a relationship and that we're in reunion. I don't think that anything... And I'm basing this off of her response, you know, like, I don't care that you live in Bridgeport. You know, it's great that you bought a house when 25. So, and knowing her now, after all this time, these past almost 4 years, she's not like that. She's not snobby or anything like that. She's not judgmental. She's really down to earth and she's really humble and she's a really cool person in that respect. And I'm so thankful because I am too. Like, I don't look at class or race or, you know, like, I don't care about any of that. So I'm glad she's like that. But I was still so embarrassed and so worried and everything. So, you know what? So when I gave her her birthday present, you know, I didn't come with a big bag like I used to with colored wrapping paper and bows and everything. She got a gift card in a card. And it was still a $200 gift card, but I feel like that wasn't enough. You know, like, I feel like I should have done, you know, more and everything. So I felt bad and I needed to explain to her because right now I'm not in a good position. There's things going on in my life that I'll, you know, talk about at a later date when things actually start moving and everything. But, you know, I had to tell her, like, things are a little tight right now, so, you know, I couldn't do what I really wanted to do for you. And, you know, like I said, she laughed at me. So and you know, again, I felt the need to tell her and explain myself. So I prefaced the conversation. I prefaced me telling her, I don't have it right now with, you know who I am. We've known each other for 3 years. You know what a hard worker I am. You know I'm not lazy and that I just, you know, I'm putzing around and stuff. You know me. So you know that I'm not, you know, just slacking off, and that's why I can't give you something bigger. You know, and you know, it's silly. Because I was like, I remember I had to, you know, I was replaying it in my mind, like, I gotta tell her, okay, you know I'm not lazy, you know, I mean, I worked 35 days out of 38 days, you know, before I left the Holiday Inn, and you know how much I work, and I work, you know, sometimes 40, 50, 60 hours, and, you know, so, you know, I was just embarrassed and petrified. So a part of me looks at that now and says, well, you're pathetic for feeling that way. It's really such a shame that I have these feelings because I don't have these feelings with anybody else, you know, but I feel like I have to live up to something greater, you know, and I think that, you know, she would be proud of me anyways, regardless, you know, like, I'll tell you a little bit. I'm trying to follow my dream right now, so that's why I've got less money and everything. So I think she would be more proud of that. So after all that happened, and I you know, was talking in these Birthmom groups with these other ladies and everything, I realized why I felt that way. And it's because of adoption. Everything seems to come back to adoption. It's just a big circle, and it keeps coming back. So the way it's related to adoption is because when I was pregnant and I was giving her up, everybody told me that I was inadequate. Not in those words, but, my parents, you need to give her up. The adoption agency, you need to give her up. My employer, if you read my, watch my relinquishment videos, I'll link them up here. The whole story is there. So the lady I worked for, the church, the hospital, the lady in the hospital, the Portia lady, the adoptee that told me, you need to give her up. It is for the best. She will have more, basically saying I wasn't fit. I wasn't enough. It is better for her. What's what everybody says all the time? It's for the best. They can give her vacations and toys and everything they're more wealthy and everything, but what it turns out to be is I was inadequate. I wasn't enough. And so this whole thing, I've been carrying this my whole entire life, that I am not enough for my daughter. And it comes back out. I'm 47 in reunion. And again, I'm not enough, and it makes me feel that way. Which I know I am. I'm smart. I'm pretty. I'm, a go-getter. I do things and I finish them. Not everything. I do have procrastination. I have PTSD from all of this and everything. But I'm a pretty good person. I'm great to animals. I'm, funny. So I'm not inadequate by any means. But adoption shaped it all for me. So this got banged into my head when I was 15 years old, that I wasn't enough. Not just for my daughter, but for anything. Because that's what it ended up translating to. And that's the adoption narrative. That's the adoption propaganda that everybody is fed. They'll be better off. They'll have more. You can't give them what they need. What does a baby need? A baby needs formula and diapers and some clothes. It doesn't need tuition when it's born. Babies don't need tons of toys and everything. My niece is a great example because she's inundated with toys, so she's got overstimulation. And she just bounces off the wall. It's crazy. So, that being fed to me has just translated into me becoming an adult who feels inadequate still. And the horrible thing is that so many other people feel this way too. I'm not alone because it's apparent. 2 people 2 days in a row in a Birthmom group said something. And I'm sure that there's tons of other birth mothers that feel the same way. That materialistic things come before how good of a person I am. That isn't even taken into consideration because materialistic things come before. And it just goes right back to us in adulthood not feeling worthy of knowing our children. And it's crazy because I feel like I've healed so much and I've done so much shadow work and healing and getting better into a better headspace. And then things like this come up and make me realize that I'm not healed, that there's so much more that I need to work on and so much more that has damaged me, that my self-worth has been damaged and that I can't even look at myself and be like, wow, you're a good egg, Cat. You really are. But at this point, you know, because I've realized this about myself, I am more comfortable telling my daughter these things. I do have something else big that I'm going to tell her. And then I'll tell you guys, but she comes first. So I'm more comfortable telling her that now because I realize this about myself now. So my anxiety about it isn't that bad. I mean, I'll probably chew on my nails a little bit, but now I know that, you know, it's not me. It's you know, what I was fed, and it's the insecurities aren't who I am. They're just another product of adoption propaganda. But at least I don't feel like a loser anymore. And with that said, I'm going to call this one quits. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.